Hey guys, my name's Nick with CC Minis, and I'm here to show you guys how to paint some really cool ice bases. There's this product on Amazon, and the link is going to be right down here. That way. It's down that way. That's where the link is. It's called Distress Crackle Paint, Clear Rock Candy. This stuff is really cool. It dries very clear. The reason I like this stuff so much is that the way that it cracks apart, it's not like other crackle paints like GW. This one cracks into large, thick, icy cracks to like, you know, that crystal blue on Breaking Bad. Like, it looks just like that, and with that you can do some really cool ice effects. Now, I don't have any video of it setting or how to pour it, but I can, give me one second, I can show you. This is a container that comes with little basing materials, you know, you put them on your base, they look like little tufts, little tuft poos. They come in this, chop it in half, easy enough, and you're gonna fill it about a quarter of an inch up with that stuff, just literally layer it on there thick, set it on your table, and wait a day or two, and you're gonna come back and it's gonna look like how it looks in the video coming up right now. So you have this stuff and it's cracked and it's nice, and you can crack it more as much as you want, just like that. So the next step is to take a pumice, and I'm using the Vallejo black lava pumice, but really any pumice will do. I've heard you can even just take like whatever colored paint you want and mix it with sand and it'll work, but I'm using the Vallejo stuff. I'll also put that down here. Alright, so you basically just kind of smear it on there, just like that. I use a little mini katana thing, but you can use a toothpick, your hand if you're a barbarian, whatever you want to do. Just get that stuff on there. I'd let it set for probably a day or so after you're done, and basically I did the same process with this base, and this is the base I'm going to kind of show you the tutorial on. It's got an extra well on there that was 3D printed. I filled this well up with other shards of ice and stuff to make it look like ice is splashing out, just so I could use on my Morngul base, just kind of like he's popping out of the water, because I think the horse looks dumb. You know, the horse on the Morngul base, it's just, who needs it? Who needs the horse? Off camera, I primed these all black. I use an airbrush, you can use spray paint, whatever, and then we're going to quickly zenithal highlight this. In addition to the zenithal highlight, we are going to start attacking the ice shards. Now, the ice shards, unlike a normal zenithal highlight, you're going to want to really focus on the edges and then a little bit in the middle. And this just makes it look more natural, more like ice. Next thing we're going to do is a heavy blue from Vallejo. Really, any blue will do. I like this blue and the rest of the opaque line from Vallejo, because it gives a very consistent coverage. And from there we'll build up with more and more transparent paints, but you're always going to see a little bit of that blue underneath. Okay, the next step we're going to do is we're going to mix in a little bit of white. I used FW white ink to do this. You can use any white paint. I like the white ink to keep the consistency in my airbrush nice and smooth. You take that new lighter blue, start to go around the edges, and a little bit again where the snow is going to be at the end of the day. And what we're going to keep doing is we're going to keep layering on more and more of that lighter blue, lighter blue, lighter blue, until we get to a point where we're ready to start deepening it up. So I don't use the same blue here. I picked a more saturated blue, Model Air blue. It's a thinner blue, so we're going to be able to see the underlying layers more as we glaze this on to the ice. And this is where you're going to get the really sweet, super saturated blue that you want, that's going to pop off the table. So the next thing we're going to do is take opaque blue and mix it with a little bit of gray. I used Army Painter uniform gray for this, and we're just going to start going around the edge of this, doing edge highlighting, and then doing small little cracks. You're going to see me go up kind of randomly, and when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about the way that, like, if you threw a baseball at a car window and it's like a circle and then like it cracks all around it, that's kind of what I'm thinking of here. We're going to go in, add some more white or some lighter gray to that same color, and go over some of the stronger cracks again, the cracks I really want to jump out at you. and pop off of those crystals. And this is where that really dark saturated blue comes in handy. The lighter these cracks get, the more stylized and the more you're going to notice it from, 3-4 feet away when you're playing the game. After that is I went ahead and used that same blue. I think I mixed in a couple drops of black, and we're just making some small lines right next to those cracks to reinforce them and to make them come off of the model even more. The next step is to add a wash. I did blue tone and a bit of strong tone from Army Painter. So the reason I like to use the Army Painter washes is they all have a slight gloss to them. It's not like the GW ones, which were dry, super matte. And I know most people are always like, matte, matte, matte. You gotta have them really matte and no shine. Shine's bad. But in the winter, like, the ground isn't dry. The ground's a little wet. So having a little bit of sheen in the crevices, I think, makes it look more realistic. And having a little sheen allows those crevices to actually get dark enough. Yeah, that's my tirade about washes. So use that wash all around the model, but just leave the places where we want the snow to go, where we want really white. Leave those without the wash. A little more natural to have variation in there. And then we're going to use that same Army Painter gray, but we're quickly painting the well gray so it stands out against the rest of the base. After we got the coat of gray on it, we're going to quickly wash it. Next step is dry brushing white. And we're just going to dry brush the whole thing. This is going to really start to make everything realistic. You can see I actually dry brush some of the ice as well to get those edges nice and bright. And that really pops the texture out. Next is going to be the Citadel Vallejo stuff. And this thing you're seeing here that I'm kind of flicking is a silicone sculpting tool, which is basically a little nub of silicone on a paintbrush handle. Got those from my high school art teacher, Mrs. Racich. If you're out there watching this somehow, thank you, they're the best. And these are just nifty little tools. They're good for a variety of applications, but the reason I'm using it here is they clean up super easily. So at the end of it, I can just whip it off with a paper towel. If anything dries on there, it's just gonna flake off. And they're super useful for doing base textures like this. We're just gonna go ahead and really glob that on there and start just tapping it down where we want it. I like to tap a glob down, then spread it manually, as opposed to like getting a little bit, put it on, get a little bit, put it on. Like really just go to town, have one section that's really, really snowy, and then just take from there and put it on other parts of the model. It's gonna go a lot quicker, and I find that you have more control that way. I'm also gonna add a little bit to the well, because snow would hit that too, and it would be on there. Maybe not as much. Maybe it's like heating up from the sun and starting to melt down. But yeah, I'm gonna get, build up one side, like the wind's buffeting that side and starting to collect snow. Yeah, it's starting to turn out pretty nice. I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. After the snow, I probably should have done this before I did the snow, but we're gonna do some quick edge highlighting with a slightly brighter gray. I don't know if I use a brighter gray itself, or if I just took that Army Painter gray and then added some white. So what I'm imagining is a bright day where it's winter, it's cold, but the sun's still shining down on you. It's one of those days where it gets like hot because you're wearing all that stuff and you end up sweating, and then you get home and you snuggle up to a fire afterwards. That's what I'm imagining. Get some nice hot cocoa, and it would be nice, just nice and cozy to cuddle up with a loved one during a day like this. Of course, it wouldn't really work out all too well because of the Morngul popping out of the well and just eviscerating your family. And of course, the last thing we're going to do is take some paint and do the edges. I use that same opaque paint that I used earlier with the blue, and that paint is the best for painting edges or rims of the bases like that. It's one or maybe two coats, and your base is a solid flat color, and I think that just looks the best. So last thing to finish this out is some completed photos of the Morngul. I hope you guys like this. If you have any other ideas for some cool bases you'd like to see, go ahead and leave those in the comments. If you enjoyed the content, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'm going to start doing more and more of these as time goes on. If you have